Shalom, shalom. We give all praise, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles and the men in truth on down regarding this truth and knowledge. And to Wadi Yahweh Shem Yahweh for putting the spirit of the elders and apostles and the men in truth on down regarding this truth and knowledge. So we can know this truth and knowledge. Call holy Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shem Rakakadash. Give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shem Rakakadash. This related to articles linked to the government shutdown. This relates to signing a short-term funding bill to avert a government shutdown this week. Really, it's just for until next week, which will be a stopgap. I'm gonna look up that word. Stopgap, because that's all it is.
Stopgap.
A temporary way of dealing with a problem or satisfying a need. So it's a very temporary way of dealing with, a major problem they have each time regarding either raising a deficit or preventing a shutdown. Improvisation, expedient, or makeshift, and that's what that is. It's a makeshift. It's a makeshift band-aid tool to a profusely bleeding problem, man. Makeshift, a temporary substitute or device, man. So what's another word for stopgap? Yeah, the words, some common synonyms: stopgap, expedient, makeshift, resort, resource shift. While all these words means something one turns to in the absence that usually means of a source or supply. Stopgap applies to something used temporarily as an emergency measure. So that's what that is, emergency measure. So they can try to make up something more, or make a deal that's more permanent, man. And really, this is a process they do each time, man. Let's go over relating to the articles. Biden signs a short-term funding bill to avert a government shutdown this week. I believe that's till next Friday. 1 week, yeah. Senate passes 1 week government funding bill averting a partial shutdown. McCarthy, which he'd be the new, he'd be the one that will take Nancy Pelosi's place. McCarthy. Drama might scare Congress into a spending deal. Congress passed a 1 week stopgap spending bill to avert a government shutdown. The Hill. Got the Federal News Network. Chances of a government shutdown are just about slammed shut. Short-term funding bill passes House, heading to Senate. So they have to work on something more permanent, man. Get some scriptures. Here's examples of shutdowns: 95, 96, 2013, January 2018. Just to give you examples of some. What does a full government shutdown mean? The government occurs, a government shutdown occurs when the legislative branch does not pass key bills which fund or authorize the operation of the executive branch, resulting in cessation of some or all operations of government. So what triggers a government shutdown? The United States government shutdown occurs where there is a failure to enact funding legislation to finance the government for its next fiscal year, or temporary funding measures. Basically, either sides don't agree on certain matters relating to financial or funding, in certain, in areas relating to funding different entities within that structure, All right. When there is a government shutdown, federal agencies are required to classify their employees as either essential or non-essential. Employees classified as essential continue to work during the shutdown. However, the employees classified as non-essential are put on unpaid furlough. Furlough suspension or discharge of a worker or workers on account of economical conditions or shortage of work, especially when temporary. So that's what that is, Suspend or discharge a worker from a job, especially temporarily, on account of economical conditions or shortage of work. All right, I'm gonna get some scriptures. This relates to that. Goes back to the ancient Rome, the Democrats and Republicans. This is the patricians, and the plebeians. Plebeians or patricians, which is the ancient, classification related to ancient Rome. The social class was divided either into slaves or two other groups, which were the plebeians or the patricians. Patricians would be the upper class people, such as the wealthy landowners. Would be the patrician group. And the plebeians would be the lower class, which would be normal people in Rome. So that's the commoners. The plebeians would be the commoners, and the patricians be the upper class, the rich, Let's get some scriptures. Yahushua knew their thoughts and said, and to them every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that's what's happened, that division, man. You know, the fracture between these two entities, man. The divide between both of them, it's going to cause that fracture, which ultimately is going to collapse, man. They're going to collapse, man. And that's what you're seeing, you know. 26. If Satan cast out Satan, and he is divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand? It's not going to stand, man, because they're divided, man. Divided, they all fall, man. Go to 11 and 17 of Luke. It's a quick lesson. Look at this. But he known their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom, similar language to Matthew 12 and 25. And he knew in their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth, man. And if Satan be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand, man? So debate Satan. Who is Satan, man? That's the carnal counterpart on earth, man. That's the one in power, man. Job 9 and 24. That's the earth has been given to the hands of the wicked, you know. So they're in a position of power, man. (26). Read it again. Let's see. Shalak, If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because ye say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub. Let's go to Mark 3 and 24. If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. So if it's division, if it's where the two entities within that same structure can't work together or come to a compromise of agreement, then it's going to be that division. That division is ultimately going to cause that fracture, man. That divide, man. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So that house is not going to be able to stand. And that's the power of the house, man. So it's not going to be able to stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. And ultimately, think not that I come to send peace on earth. I say nay, but rather division. So that internal division, that's on Luke 12 and 51. The Lord is sending that spirit of division within the house of the ones in power, man. And ultimately, through the spirit, that division is going to fracture, and that's going to be their end, man. Relating to their position of power, man. 27. And no man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he will first bind the strong man. So you got to bind up that strong man, man. And then he will spoil his house. Then you can spoil his house, take his goods, man. So there's a few scriptures relating to, that shutdown, So this is just relating to pretty much more division relating to trying to find a compromise regarding certain matters, man. And I hope this helps. This is Zayab. This is Wolf. I'll give all praise Yahweh Shem Yoshua Bashim Rakakadash. This relates to, if you relating to that. Hope it helps, Shalom.